Today I fucked up by submitting porn to my teacher. A few days ago I had a massive paper due, that we were expected to work on for months. Me, being the procrastinator I am, pushed all of it to the last minute. A few days late, quickly turned into weeks. Then I was stuck with a scary proposition: either say I haven't done it, and most likely fail the paper, or try to find a sneaky way out. So, obviously I chose the sneaky way out. I had heard about submitting corrupted files to teachers so that it looks as though you've done the work, which in turn buys you time to actually finish whatever you need to do. One fateful day, my teacher approaches me asking if it's done yet, and since I've exhausted the "I forgot it" excuse, I told them that it was in fact done and ready to submit. So here's where I screwed up, and badly. I knew of sites that could corrupt files easily, however, it was crunch time and I had on me was a mobile, where these sites won't work for whatever reason. So, the only other option was to download a corrupted file online and submit that. I knew that this was risky, but to combat the risk, I decided to forward the file to a friend, who was home at the time, and had access to a computer. I agreed to double check the file to make sure it was 100% corrupted and wouldn't be able to be opened. After getting the thumbs up, my plan sprung into action. I renamed the file and submitted it. Today, I along with my parents received an email stating that the file submitted as my final paper was not indeed my final paper. In my panic, I had not thought of checking to see if someone could restore the file, which was exactly what my teacher had done. And what was staring back at them was not a paper, but a scantily clad woman, and an attachment for a not-so-savory website. Now, I'm faced with the dilemma: do I just take my lumps and let my teacher think I'm a creep, or do I fess up and try to explain the situation in hopes that they're merciful? The second option could play out two different ways. The teacher is usually quite understanding and could spare me, or their patience could be exhausted and they could then file a disciplinary report against me for what I'm assuming would be academic dishonesty. Too long didn't read, I accidentally submitted a corrupted file that turned out to be porn to my teacher as my final paper. Edit: thank you kind strangers for the awards! Exclamation mark. Honesty at this point, fam. You gotta step up and fall on your sword, so to speak. Edit: I'm a dad of a teen boy if that helps. That's how I feel. Do both. Fess up and explain, and take your lumps. Frankly, you cheated. I'm a procrastinator, too, but geez. You lost a little of my sympathy when you got to the using a corrupted file part. Sorry to be a prick, but just use this as a turnaround point. I'm cleaning up my act, too. Honestly, it's pretty funny, though, and makes for a pretty good story. You can do it, man. Dude. This speaks volumes to your character, upside down face. Bruh. You're in high school, yeah? Good to learn this lesson the scary way now, so going forward it will be less of an issue. There's no winning this one, mate. But take it in stride and use it as a painful lesson learned to fuel some better habits. Welcome in advance to r/get disciplined. Today I fucked up by seriously not impressing my potential father-in-law by crashing his custom motorcycle. Happened like 3 hours ago. So, I am currently visiting my GF's parents for the first time. I ride motorcycles, her dad rides motorcycles, so naturally I wanted this to be common ground over which we can connect. He was excited to try out my Triumph, and asked if I wanted to join him on a little ride around town through the hills and woods. He would take my 2019 Triumph Street Twin, and gave me his gorgeous custom Yamaha 70s Scrambler. Like, knobby tires, bare bones instruments, single cylinder, tall suspension. But today I fucked up a paint job. Everything is fine for the first 15 minutes or so. He's in front, and I follow. He is ahead a few seconds around a bend, and I hit some gravel at maybe 30 km/h. The rear brakes out. I immediately try to get control, but I'm way too close to the edge of the road, aiming right at a ditch. I brake, and drop just before falling in. I basically low side at super slow speeds, scraping my knee, breaking of the indicators, and destroying the headlight. When I don't follow, my GF Stas turns back and helps me get the bike up and back. We just had a few beers, my GF and her mother, joking about our past mishaps with cars and bikes. TL, doctor, met my potential in-laws, crashed my GF's dad's custom scrambler. I'm not sure if he is chill or if he will kill me in my sleep. Are you still at UGF's house? We are drinking tea and watching TVRN. I think you are alright. Maybe a hit to the pride, but if you were in his shoes would you be mad? Nah, man, but still. Broke his passion project. Shitty feeling. Your test of maturity started 3 hours ago. Oh shit. As someone who used to spend a lot of time riding, her dad is probably upset but understands. There are risks and every responsible rider acknowledges those risks. You only have so much control over things like gravel. It doesn't even need to be a lot of gravel for you to low side. It could just as easily been her father. There is a huge difference between a rider crashing because of idiotic actions versus a rider crashing because of unfortunate circumstances. Based on your story, it seems like you are definitely the latter. Keep the shiny side up. How you have to marry her now. It's fate. Today I fucked up keeping the AC turned off. I own a house in Arizona with roommates and in April it starts to get warm like early summer. One of my roommates previously told me it's too hot in his room and the AC system wasn't reaching his room like it did the rest of the house. Told him it really isn't that hot yet, /26C, since this will be a cool temperature in a few months, but tried redirecting a few AC vents to improve airflow to his room. He's from out of state and it takes time to adapt to Arizona summers. I personally love hot weather and my preferred room temperature is about 30°C. I don't need the AC on yet, so I've left the AC off for my room, which is a different system than the rest of the house. After my roommate told me again that it's too hot in his room even with redirected AC flow, I had the idea to try turning on the AC in my room. It turns out that my room controls both my room and his room as well as the guest room. Now I need to turn on the AC for my room and close all the vents so his room gets some love. It's not perfect, but at least we found some middle ground. Too long didn't read. I overheated my roommate's room by leaving the AC off to keep my room at a comfortable roasting temperature. Had to read this in case it was a former tenant. He had just graduated and moved from the West Coast. His new job took him overseas for months at a time. He moved in October. I showed him how to program the thermostat and the switch for heat and AC. Guy was an engineer, so smart. Anyway, a few months later, in April, his GF visits for a week. Temp never got above 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, low 40s. He didn't pack for the weather so froze. She leaves, he goes off for 4 months, comes back in September, GF comes to visit for a week. 32 degrees Celsius, 90 degrees, with 90 to 100% humidity the whole week. 5th day back I run into them and ask how they're doing with the heat. Aren't they glad for the AC, etc. His girlfriend is like what AC? He had forgotten he had central air. 2 trips across the country to see him, and miserable both visits. He quickly restarted his job search. Moved back to Oregon a year later. For fellow Americans, and any conversion enthusiasts, 26 degrees Celsius equals 78.8 degrees Fahrenheit and 30 degrees Celsius equals 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Personally, I think you're crazy as I like to keep my house around 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 18.3 degrees Celsius, but love and let live. You keep your sauna, I'll have my icebox. Same. Bedroom temp is 65 at night. Whole house 68 to 69 during the days. You say you're in Arizona yet you're using this weird C thing for temperature. I spent a good amount of time in Europe for college and got used to European measurements. I see a man of culture, using Celsius not Fahrenheit. A man of culture or a man of common sense? People that like it hot are shitheads and need to go away. Side note, they make vent fans that suck air, warm/cold, from vents into room. Amazon 30.00. This is a good example of the third law of thermodynamics. If I were to buy a heat pump from Amazon to say heat up my room WHLE keeping the AC on to cool the rest of the home, I would be using a lot more power than if I were to simply insulate the vents in my room. The reason is that if you increase the source temperature, in this case air coming from my room, you increase the cooling load on the AC quite a bit. Insulation is the better answer here because there is a lot of leakage from the AC vents in my room which would both increase the cold airflow to the roommate room and prevent cold air from entering my room. Thus insulation is generally cheap compared to adding another mechanical part.